All right, Brian, let's talk about some big names in the class of 2025. And Josh Petty is a guy who puts together one of those recruiting team lists that makes you just kind of do one of those. For those on podcasts, I'm scratching my head. So his reported finalists are Florida State, no surprise. Ohio State, no surprise. Tennessee, Georgia Tech is in the mix. That's not the most surprising one, Brian. Stanford is in the mix. And okay, let me just get your reaction. Like, how do you explain that? It's Stanford. How are they here?
Academics. Georgia Tech's a high-end academic school too, but he lives on the edge of Atlanta. He can be at Georgia Tech's campus in less than a half hour. I'm guessing they're doing a good job recruiting, though. They got kids that have committed from Mississippi. They've gotten kids from like Florida, et cetera, all over the South. Their staff does a good job. They put in the effort. Andrew Babalola, we'll talk about him in a minute. He's a kid from Kansas, basically just outside of Kansas City, that they have a shot at. They recruit nationally. They go at it hard, and they have an academic degree to sell that most don't. So I guess that's a pitch for some kids that they want. Duke does it, Notre Dame, Vanderbilt. There's different levels of it, but Stanford was 3-9 last year and lucky to be 3-9. For them to come off of that season and do this in recruiting is quite impressive.
Yeah, I agree. But the other schools in the mix, Florida State, who you, of course, cover on Locked On Seminoles, Ohio State, Tennessee, and Georgia Tech in the fold as well. Do you think that this is an academic consideration with the two big-time academic schools in there? Do you think it's going to be one of Stanford and Georgia Tech, or do you feel like Florida State has got a chance here to land one of the most highly sought-after 2025 offensive tackle recruits?
I like Florida State because his sister's going to go to school at Florida State. There is that's a bargaining chip.
Is she an athlete too?
I can't remember, but I don't even care.
Right.
If she's going there, then it's all over with, in my opinion, because family matters. Good luck to those recruiting against them. That's tough. But when I found that out like a week ago, like, oh, that's game changer. Good luck. But he's got offers from everybody. He's got like 40 offers.
Yeah, so the other five-star offensive tackle I wanted to talk to you about, going back to Stanford here for a moment, is Andrew Babalola. And On3 logged a prediction for him to land at Stanford. And by the way, this is a Stanford coaching staff that is going into the ACC, because why wouldn't a school in Palo Alto, California be a part of the Atlantic Coast Conference? That makes perfect sense in my mind. I don't know what could possibly be illogical or weird about that, but they've got a prediction to land him there. They got Elijah Brown in the 2024 cycle, who is probably going to compete to start at quarterback this year. I think they should start him, frankly. I mean, Ashton Daniels last year, he was fine, capable, had his moments, but, didn't put up the most incredible numbers and such. I just look at these recruiting wins and go, you're not supposed to be able to get that at Stanford in 2024 because they don't play the NIL game. They don't play the transfer portal game. They're supposed to be going down, but if you go back and look at even the end of the David Shaw years, they recruited at a top 20, top 30 sort of level, and it feels like Troy Taylor, as they go into the ACC, is trying to get them back to that range.
I got to give him a lot of credit. I didn't see it coming. I thought they were going to,
That's how I felt.
I thought they were going to be a 2-10 football team once NIL got here, and I thought they were doomed. That kind of school just will not. They're not going to do the things that Georgia and Ohio State and Texas. They're not. So the degree is valuable, but this goes back to the old saying: relationships matter. It's recruiting effort. Think about what he could do if he was at a name school with this kind of effort. Like if he was at Texas A&M, if he was at Oklahoma or Florida State, it's a little easier there academically to get kids into at those schools, by the way, just a smidgen. They're putting in effort because most kids don't want to put up with the academics you got to do at Stanford. And the application process is over 10 pages from what I'm told, unless it's changed. Like it is not friendly. Just to get the application done is hard. So you know what? Give them credit. I'm guessing that the degree is a big part, but this is still more than anything else about relationships because they were awful last year. That is not easy to sell. What are they running on their highlights? Like in the when you walk into the foyer at Stanford, what highlights are they running?
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's been a minute. Okay, he was NFL
Yeah, I
player,
mean
offensive player,
that's
but
what you go for.
because they were awful. Like they're hard to watch, and they still are getting these kids. It's incredible.
Yeah, I think Troy Taylor is a pretty solid coach. Like their roster last year, I think they were just outmatched in basically every game. They had that crazy comeback at Colorado in Boulder on a
They caught
Friday night.
fire. They
Yeah,
caught. Wasn't it 29-0 or
I think it
something?
was 29-0 or 26
How do
nothing,
you lose?
somewhere in that range. I mean, that was one of the craziest things. They threw a slant for 97 yards and a touchdown. It was just one of those games. Alec Manor went for, I think it was 294 or 109. I don't know. He had some ridiculous game at wide receiver. Like Stanford could be okay. I don't know if they make a bowl game, but like if you told me right now they win 5 games, I don't know if I'd be completely and utterly shocked.
I wouldn't be shocked because they haven't done anything that I thought they were going to.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And by the way, you're going to have ACC teams. Now they have to make cross country trips, but you're going to have ACC teams traveling to the farm, and that's a long way to go in an environment that probably won't be incredible. It can be tough to get up for. The farm can be a trap spot here. But let's go back to the recruiting trail. A couple names to talk about. One is not committed. One has. Elijah Griffin, 5-star defensive lineman. Going back to the USC conversation. Georgia, Miami, USC. I think this is the D'Anton Lynn factor, and I have been a fan of this hire since USC announced it not long after the season, and I thought it was an indictment of UCLA, and I also thought it was a boon to USC and a testament to what Lincoln Riley is trying to do, and this is the sort of guy that I don't think USC is in the mix for when Alex Grinch is the defensive coordinator.
Agreed. I still think he's going to sign with Georgia. That's where his grandmother has kind of signed off on him going. She's close with him. But Miami's put in all kinds of effort to get him. USC's in on him. You got to try. Because, like, this kid as an 8th grader looked like he was a college player. So he was that guy that was just physically developed way early. He walks in a room, you would know it. You got to try if you're SC. That visit is going to be everything. They're only going to get so many shots. Like he's been to Georgia probably more times than he can count. It's like a 3.5-hour drive. It's no big deal. USC is a plane ride. So good luck. Miami's also a plane ride. That's a long trip to drive from Savannah down to Coral Gables. But those are the only 2 that are reportedly in the mix, which is kind of weird. He doesn't do camps. He really doesn't do much media. So we really don't know much more than that.
Another name that I want to talk about that will get you out of here on for today, Brian, is just the name of all names, and that's Bo Jackson. Because no, Bo Jackson has not somehow regained eligibility by applying through a waiver to the NCAA. This is just, a guy who is committed to Ohio State, had some other notable schools after him, but this feels like, rinse and repeat for Ohio State, ho-hum, another dynamic skill player.
He is, but he also is a power guy. He's over 200. Like he's a thumper. He's got good open field speed, but he's a little different dimension than what Ohio State had last year. That's a good player. I did Ohio State's podcast today on the Locked On Network. I'm like, this kid's going to play. Worst case scenario, by end of fall camp, I bet he's 3rd string. They pick up the playbook and all that. Like he's physically gifted enough to start at Ohio State as a freshman. Playbook, pass protection, those things will dictate whether he does. But you can't teach the grown man strength. Like when he runs into somebody, you better be ready. Because if you're not in a tackling position, you will be YouTubed. And you still might be.
Yeah, and he's a guy who's going to slide in at running back, it feels, yeah?
Oh, yeah. That's his calling.
He feels like a 1-to-1 stylistic replacement for Travion Henderson to me. Like, has that explosive playmaking potential, but is a little bit more of a bruiser. And Ohio State, best backfield in all college football. Why? They got thunder and lightning. Quinshon Judkins, a little bit more lightning. Travion Henderson, a little bit more thunder. And certainly both guys are well-rounded backs. But if not anything else, I could not let the opportunity to talk about Bo Jackson in college football go by the wayside. You can't do that with a name like that. Brian Smith, our Locked On Recruiting Insider here at the network. Check him out on X, formerly known as Twitter at FBScout_Florida. Brian, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, sir.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. You can save up to 60%, which is over half, buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you're looking for. You can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or event. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College, all one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.